We're discussing network types and topologies. You've likely heard of LAN or WAN. A local area network is within a company, hospital, or school. Networks connecting cities or across the country are wide area networks. The concept of a metropolitan area network is less clear now, so we'll focus on LANs and WANs in future studies. Describing a company's network can be challenging. Simply saying, our company has a computer connecting to switches isn't enough. The internal one is called a local area network. If it is a network between cities, or between cities, or even a network in our country, it is often called a wide area network, and its scope can be said to be small to large. But now the concept of LAN is gradually becoming vague, so in the future when we study it, we will mainly focus on LAN and WAN. Then let's take a look at it. If we want to describe the situation of a company or a company network to a person, it will be difficult to tell him, hey, our company, for example, now has a computer, which is connected to a switch, switch 1, switch 2, switch 3. Then a router is connected to the switch. To be honest, it is difficult to explain the situation of your network in this way. So in most cases, we will choose to explain it to you in terms of the network topology structure, and then connect it through our network equipment. Various devices are connected in the middle through network cables or optical fibers to form a network, which is used to describe the physical structure or logical structure of the network. This is actually very important, and then report yan, yunzao, yukabandi, year, or say. When describing and troubleshooting the error, it looks very clear. The types of network breaches are actually divided into the following types. The first type is the new type, which is the focus of the attack. What else? Our total linearity is all on one line, and in it we also have our ring, our vertical shape, and our entire network. And we also talk about partial mesh network topology. In fact, here we are companies or enterprises. Now we use combined network topology, which means that you may see its shadow in various places. For example, when you pay close attention here, you will find that, hey, isn't this a ring? So here it combines a point from each TOEFL, and we form the current network. In the future, if we are working in an enterprise, if it is a small enterprise, then often, for example, I have a switch here, and then I have a computer underneath. The computer is connected to a switch, and the switch here is also called an access switch, which is responsible for connecting these terminal devices, such as our computers, printers, servers, and cameras. Access to the network. Then what about the switch? To connect to the router, to connect to an external network. Basically, if it is a small business, we say that this is the way to network. Of course, I am just giving you an example. It may not be just one computer. Of course, if it is a medium-sized enterprise, is this enough? It is not enough. If it is a medium-sized enterprise, how to network it? They often have several access switches, and all these access switches connect to a unified switch. Because if you only connect access switches to each other, it can lead to issues equally. For example, if I have a first floor, a second floor, and a third floor, you and all the computers connect through the switches on one floor, then to the switches on the second floor, and finally to the third floor switch, and then go out through our gateway device to access the internet. So if there's any issue with the link in between, like if there's a problem between the second and third floors, then the computers on the first and second floors won't be able to access the internet. Therefore, in the future, when we set up networks, we won't connect all the switches directly to each other. In medium-sized enterprises, access switches typically connect to what's called an aggregation switch. So here, all the access switches connect to the aggregation switch, which then allows access to the external network. What if some enterprises want to implement backup and prevent aggregation problems? They often add more aggregation your devices. For example, if it is a large campus network, each floor has one. Each floor has its own switch. This is the switch for the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor. So all the switches connect to an aggregation switch. If you have a lot of these setups, for instance, if there are multiple access switches connecting to an aggregation title switch, and if there are many aggregation switches, they usually connect to a switch called the core switch. So all the aggregation switches connect to the core switch, which then links to our router to access the external network. And then of course, if there's a concern about the core switch having issues, we often deploy dual core switches. If anyone is interested in learning about Huawei certification technology or wants to obtain Huawei certification question banks, please message me privately, or you can leave comments below the video for technical discussions.